Buddy, it's your Mike Messier pal having a little memory of wrestling trade tapes, wrestling tape trade. I totally dyslexiated that one, folks, but the wrestling trade of videotapes, VHS, old school. So some of you people watching this video, now, I mean, that the joke is you wouldn't know what VHS is, but I'm guessing you probably do. So I'm not going to condescend, but you know what a VHS tape is. And before we had any notion that there could be a DVD, which essentially looks like a CD, audio CD, and works pretty much the same way, except it's a DVD with video and audio, and has all those wonderful Easter eggs and all those wonderful hidden gems. I don't even know if they do Easter eggs anymore, but DVDs, I really do love the medium of a DVD. And before there was YouTube, which I'm a big YouTube guy as well, we had what was called VHS. Now, you don't need a fucking history lesson on the magnetic qualities of VHS and how if you were to watch these things over and over, they'd wear thin. At the time, it was the best we had, and we loved them, okay? People would have a lot of VHSs, and for whatever reason, you know, occasionally you get a VHS tape that would snap on you or whatever the fuck, but most people didn't really have a problem. Like, industrial made, well-made VHSs were pretty sturdy. You had some good cover art. I mean, it wasn't like a full LP for music, but, you know, we're not going to talk about commercial VHS or anything. We're going to talk about pro wrestling, underground, bootleg, Dave Sure, Dave's Wrestling Emporium, 1994, Best of Sabu style fucking tape trade, okay? Now, for all that, if you were on that ride of a sentence I just took you on, you know what I'm talking about. You know about Dave's Wrestling Emporium. And right now I'm going to say this. I didn't even Google to see if there's anything about Dave's Wrestling Emporium or this guy named Dave Sure, who would do these things, and I was curious, it wasn't Meltzer, I don't think it was the same Dave, but he called himself Dave's Wrestling Emporium, and that's how I got my first look at a lot of cool stuff, namely ECW, Sabu, the Pat Patterson Sergeant Slaughter Madison Square Garden match from '81. Tammy Fitch was in this selection of tapes that I got, and when I say selection of tapes, somehow on a very archaic version of the internet, or somebody told me about this guy who had these tapes, and you had to fucking contact him, and I think it was through email, like an archaic early email or something, got in touch with this guy, lived on a fucking military base, and you had like maybe 20 or 30 or more, probably more tapes to choose from, and they were all like really weird compilations. You'd go from current at the time product of fucking Smoky Mountain, and then you'd be in fucking Madison Square Garden with some Killer Khan, Andre the Giant stretcher match, you know, in 1981. Then you'd be, you know, in Texas or something with some Kerry Von Erich, Ric Flair match. So these tapes, I guess he had some tapes that were more specific to a certain federation or a time zone, time frame in wrestling history. But what I remember having a lot of fun with were these random fucked up, assorted, what the fuck is going on? And there was not a lot of quality control with the video quality. I have that feeling that I'm going to sneeze, but I'm trying not to, or I would like to, but I just can't, so I can't force it. Because I got this fucking AC on, so I can do this video without the fucking window. And don't worry, I've got an apparatus for the camera. So the point is, through these tapes, I'm just laughing because it was like I would send this guy checks. It was like my first checking account, and just trying to figure that out. And then the tapes never showed up, and something happened where like he forgot to send them. But then I kind of said, "Hey man, I didn't get those tapes." And he said, "Oh my god, I forgot. I'll give you a free tape." So it just gave me more free fucking tapes, like another bonus tape to make up for the fact that I waited around for 6 weeks. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and showing friends these tapes, and these things were like fucking the golden egg. Now, this is not the only VHS experience I can tell you about. I have other VHS wrestling experiences. But I just want to give a shout out to this fucking guy, Dave Schur. Hopefully he's still alive and fine and watching wrestling. But even now, I mean, I just not worked with, but I bought some fucking wrestling stuff from a guy in New Jersey who turned out to be pretty good. So it's always something. You know, there's always going to be, no matter how much Big Brother Vince McMahon wants to cease and desist the Young Bucks or whoever the fuck, there's always going to be some underground wrestling product. And, you know, people talk about the boom of wrestling, 96, 97, 98, really 97, 98, WCW, WWF, Monday Night Wars. But I'm telling you, having lived through that, what people don't want to tell you, because they don't remember, is that there was a groundswell, and the internet, the very beginnings of the internet, with these tape trades, and this Smoky Mountain, and this ECW, and this Sabu, and all this stuff was kind of, and watching stuff from Japan that you had never seen before. Tiger Mask vs. Dynamite Kid, like 3 matches were on those tapes. That 94 era, that was a slow, kind of grueling era for both WCW and WWF, because they had, you know, Flair and Hogan had this kind of long, drawn-out feud with Mr. T and Brother Brudai. And so if you were a WCW fan, you kind of felt like you're getting assaulted with Hogan because you didn't really like Hogan. If you were a WWE fan, 94, you know, wasn't a particularly great era unless you were really a Bret Hart guy. He was doing good things, of course. And you did have Monday Night Raw, which was a game changer. But I'm just telling you, folks, you had a lot of things like the Head Shrinkers versus Diesel and Shawn. Just a lot of fucking filler. And you were kind of in this weird era, 94, where it was like Bastion Booger was getting phased out. But, you know, you had a lot of goofy things. But what got us through, and what I think started a groundswell that led to the Attitude Era, was these fucking asshole fans like myself who were fucking trading tapes from guys like Dave's Wrestling Emporium, Dave Schur. So here's a shout out to him. If you lived through that era, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I don't know if I gave you a full, I guess I'll try to explain a little more since we're here. But basically, we didn't have the goddamn internet, okay? So try to imagine a world without the internet. And now I know I said I contacted this guy through the internet, but the internet then wasn't like it is now. It wasn't this addictive, overwhelming, all-consuming, you know, thing where everyone had a YouTube channel. There was no YouTube. It was a form of communication which was immediate, but to even be on the internet, you typically had to take on a landline, phone line, and piss people off. I had a roommate who fucking was on the goddamn internet all the time, playing Doom and trying to hit on some chicks from halfway across the country, and we could never get on the phone anymore. So the point is, it was a different era. So yeah, you had the internet, but it wasn't the advanced, all-consuming entertainment toy that it is now. So you still had to go out and seek things, and what we sought was Dave's Wrestling Emporium, Sabu, and like weird wrestling stuff. And I'm telling you that era, that say 94 era, that tape trade, at least my memories of it, led a foundation for things like Eric Bischoff discovering When Worlds Collide, you know what I mean? Or whatever it was, Inoki's LA Wrestling Peace Festival, which led to that When Worlds Collide pay-per-view. It led to Paul Heyman, you know, in some ways, I'm sure, because of these tapes, getting guys into ECW, like a Rey Mysterio, like a Psychosis, etc., 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 ad nauseum. Even the wrestlers, because of the VHS tapes, were able to watch wrestlers and kind of nominate guys, not nominate like a fucking public office, but tell Vince, hey, you ought to look into this guy, or look into that guy, whatever the fuck. So, look, for those fucks who take wrestling for granted, or wanna, you know, hashtag Young Bucks, cease and desist, and all that stuff, that's all well and good, but just respect your wrestling forefathers, whether fan or wrestler, that we lived through this shit, we put the foundation down. And guys like Dave Schur, not even myself, but guys like Dave Schur put that fucking foundation down for you guys. And all those RF videotapes, whatever, you know, I know what I've said about, you know, Ring of Dishonor and those whole deals. But those shoot interviews, you know, better or for worse, have changed the landscape. So that's all Mike Messier, blah, blah, blah. Enjoy your goddamn whatever the fuck. And remember, wrestling tapes, they're important.